BlogTalk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this conversation about the Kundalini awakening experiences, your experiences, my experiences, the experiences that a person can have. Cover some of the topics here, certainly not all of them, but some of them. And I'd like to welcome everybody who is listening live right now in the chat room, who is listening live right now on the telephone, on the switchboard, and who are listening in the future, the people that are visiting the archives. Hello and welcome. And as usual, I'm just going to dive right in. One of the topics that I haven't covered too well on this radio program since the inception of this radio program, which is December 12th, 2012, is the role of abuse of children, abuse of a person in a helpless situation, the abuse. What purpose does abuse have, and why does Kundalini utilize it? Typically, from a Kundalini context and Kundalini understanding, abuse is certainly within the area of the children. This is a karmic manifestation. Those children, before they took that body as an infant, before they came into this world, they knew that they had a karmic debt to pay. They knew it. They also knew that they were going to have Kundalini in this world in their lifetime. They knew Kundalini was going to come to them. Kundalini also knew this about them. And so when that child is born, it's born into a family that will fulfill the karmic responsibilities of that child. And if the karmic responsibilities of that child indicate that the child must be sexually abused or physically abused or emotionally abused, mentally abused, or all of the above, which is typically what happens, that's what's going to occur. That is what will going to occur. And nobody is the victim here. I would say, actually, if anybody was close to being the victim, it would be the abuser, because they're the ones that are making karma, you see. The children, even, before they took the body, they knew about it, but as you come into the womb and you stabilize yourself within the body of the infant, you come under the contractual agreement of the veil of forgetfulness. You're not allowed to remember the truth of who you are. You're not allowed to remember your karma. You're not allowed to remember these things. And you're not allowed to remember them because the honesty of and the purity of not having a memory and comparing yourself to the person you were in the last life is very important. Grace wants you to come into this from a very honest, very sincere way, and having the veil of forgetfulness placed over you is that way. Now, everybody has it to some degree. Some folks can remember portions of past lives, or that it comes to them in their dream life, or comes into from various sources. People can get perhaps snippets of a past life understanding, but within the role of abuse that the Kundalini will engender, the role of abuse is to balance or redeem karma, and that may sound really, really harsh to most of you, and it is definitely a harsh scenario. Abuse of a child, is, you look at any of the holy books, and they're going to say, holy books that don't know, the bigger picture. They're going to say, don't abuse kids. You don't want to abuse children. I'll tell you what, though, if the parents stop abusing the child, then the child is going to receive abuse from another quarter, from another area. in their life, whether it's from teachers at school or kids at school or strangers on the street. If the child must be abused, I would just as soon keep it in the family just for safety's sake. Not that that's a safe, environment either, but you're not really given good options when it comes to this. And abuse allows the karma to be given, or an option for redemption. Children, because they have no control over their life per se, that's the perfect time to have levels of karmic redemption given upon the child. Typically, the child will not be killed unless there is that overarching karma that child, that person needs to experience. Well, the child will not be killed. It will be allowed to live, but it will live under the handcuffs of refinement protocols that the Kundalini, through its karmic resonance, is going to inflict upon the individual. And I'm sorry to say, and I know this goes against a lot of the different societies and their approach, and it's wrong to do these things, and it is. But if an individual commits actions of abuse upon a child, die, and they come back into the body, and the karma has to be paid, well, you kind of see where I'm going with that. What you have given is going to be given to you. And that is one of the laws of karma. Do as you would do unto others, or it's going to get done to you. Kind of paraphrase that a little bit. So this is a truth. This is something that you have to realize and understand, that it's a truth. And this abuse comes in many forms. It's not just, sexual, mental, emotional, any and all of the above. It can come in, accidents happening to a person. It can come in the way of a sickness coming over that person. It can come in the way of tragedy surrounding that person. This abuse is necessary for the refinement of the soul of the individual. Now, I'm going to take a little breather here, and I'm going to ask Michelle Ranger or Atlanta Seeker in the chat room if I'm talking to the air or if this is actually being heard. If either of you could type out whether the sound is coming through, I would appreciate it. Thank you. If you're there. Atlanta Seeker is typing. Good. So, she can hear me fine. Thank you, Atlanta Seeker. Thank you very much. And Michelle, all the way down under, is also typing, and she says, loud and clear in the land of the saltwater croc. Okay, thank you both. So it's this abuse is a necessary thing. This abuse isn't ladled out accidentally. There is no such thing as an accident within the Kundalini context. Everything is measured. Everything is taken into consideration for the advancement of that soul into the rarefied energetic environment of a Kundalini activated individual leading into the Kundalini awakening. And so a lot of what you're experiencing as a younger person with the Kundalini, and there's going to be a lot of emotional abuse in addition to the physical or sexual abuse. Emotions being such a strong part of who we are. But people will get raped, people will get beat up, people will get hammered emotionally. I had one student where the parents would tell him, he said, "Okay, son, it's time to get hammered now." And they would literally beat the heck out of that kid. Literally beat him to bleeding. And they wouldn't do it to his two younger brothers. They left them alone. But for this guy, son, it's time to get hammered. And these are the words they used. And, he wound up having extreme gifts of Kundalini later on in life, like 30 years later. And he was also, surprisingly enough, able to forgive his parents as well. He didn't hold a very strong grudge against them at all. He was able to manifest forgiveness. He was able to manifest a working relationship with his parents, which is a really amazing thing if you look at it. Now you're going to have degrees. This would be illegal. Doing what they did to this child in the United States society would be an illegal act. That those kids would be taken away. Those children would be split up, put in foster homes, and the parents would be incarcerated in prison. And I know of Kundalini people that have had extreme levels of sexual abuse, of psychological abuse, of emotional abuse inflicted on them for a number of years, from the age of 8 to 18. And these children, have had these experiences inflicted upon them, and yet they have the Kundalini. They have a very strong signature of Kundalini upon them, and this is not accidental. Karma must be served. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll say it again. Karma must be served. And it will be served no matter what the person does to try to avoid it. This is why children are typically the target, because they can't avoid it. Typically. It cannot avoid it. The parents are going to do to them what they want to do to them. The siblings are going to do to them what they want to do to them. These types of things are going to happen to the person. And I'm not saying that everybody across the board has to be sexually abused, but I am going to say within a Kundalini context, typical. I mean, pick and choose the abuse. For me, it was physical abuse and emotional abuse. For others, it was sexual abuse, which equals, sexual abuse is physical abuse, and it is emotional and mental abuse. I didn't have to walk the sexually abused path, but I certainly got the physical abuse and the emotional abuse, the mental abuse. You're living in fear of being, punished in some really strong way, for most of your early life. And, you don't know why. You just, God, this is really bad luck. How do you arrange for that? And things have to be going pretty poorly. But you don't have the big picture when you're that kid either. And so you don't know that this is a karmic redemption. And the redemption is occurring so that the clarity and the gifts of grace can come at a later date in life. Karmic redemption is a form of purification. I'm going to go into an ayahuasca ceremony, a couple of weeks before you drink the jungle tea, the ayahuasca, which gives you very, very Kundalini-like experiences. You're going on a diet. Some of us can go on a very extreme diet. When we, on the way down to Peru, before we went down to Peru a couple of years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, you're eating quinoa, an apple, maybe a rice cake, and lots of water or herbal tea, and you're it's a drastic shift in your diet so that you can purify yourself in a very specific way, so that perhaps you're not you're not having a bad experience when you take the jungle tea. And this is what the Kundalini is doing to a person in their early form of life is the karmic redemption is a level of purification, purifying the person of the actions and attitudes and of their previous lives. And this is really, from a Kundalini context, this is a a validation of the effect of past lives upon the individual. And if you look at Chinese, the ancient Chinese had a curse, and the curse was, may you meet all your karma in one life. This is kind of what happens to the Kundalini people. This is kind of what happens to Kundalini people. They get as much karma redeemed or burned or removed from their equation as is necessary for the Kundalini to come into their system. The Kundalini requires a pure system, or as pure a system as it has determined their karma will allow them. Because part of the harshness of a Kundalini activation or awakening, part of the harshness is the dearth of knowledge, is the lack of knowledge. And if you don't know what's going on, well, then you're going to fight it. And the more you fight the Kundalini, the harder it gets. And the harder it gets, the more you fight it. The more you fight it, the harder it gets. And you're in this really painful spiral of hurt and resistance and more hurt and more resistance. And it can really mess your life up in a very, very big way. This is kind of what happened to me. This was my karma. And so as you mature through childhood and through the teenage years, the whole time you're dealing with levels of karmic retribution and redemption at the same time. Okay, and then you come into adulthood, and maybe there's a space of time where you can live like a normal person, and then boom, more karmic redemption comes up, and a lot of it is determined by how your past lives were, number one, but also in how and in what way your Kundalini wants to express through you. Were you born into a family that was extremely religious, and therefore you had to follow that religious dictate, and so therefore you had to do certain things of a spiritual nature every day or every Sunday or something of that nature? Or were you born into a family that didn't have any religion at all? They weren't necessarily against it. They just didn't practice it. Sunday was a day to sleep in, which to me is a good thing. And so I was born into the kind of family that didn't really practice religion. My mother, a single mother of 4 children, she decided that she was just going to support us in whatever we decided was the best option for our spiritual studies, which I think is wonderful. She's a wonderful mother, even though I went through all that karmic stuff with stepfathers and things like that. That had to happen. Once you start to understand what is going on within a Kundalini context, you can be very, very forgiving and very, very tolerant of the unforgivable actions and activities that were taken upon you. Not that there is anything truly unforgivable. Some of it can be very difficult, but within a Kundalini context, you must be able to handle strong, very strong levels of forgiveness. And so, as that happens, and you're entering into, say, the pre-activation phase, and all the while, since you've been a little baby, the Kundalini is pulling you towards a certain expression of itself upon you. Certain levels of genius may be manifested upon you. Certain levels of knowledge may be manifested upon you. And you're to act upon on that knowledge and upon that gift of grace that you don't even know yet is a gift of grace. But you're still to act on it. And she repeats it over and over. It's just such patience, such love the Kundalini has. It's amazing, really. Say you're supposed to be, a world-class swimmer, right? But you're kind of like uneasy about getting in the water. Maybe you drowned in one past life, something like that. And so, but she'll keep nudging you towards the water. She'll put a person that you want to be in love with as a lifeguard at a pool, And so she'll use the endocrine system and the sexual reproductive urges to coerce you to get into the water and to start training, or things of that nature. Or she'll put this an incredible desire within you to get in that water and train. And so in some way or another, she's going to put you into the position that she wants you in, whether you like it or not. It's so easy to manipulate a person's 5 bodies in concert or in combination and concert to achieve a very specific goal with the human being. And this is what a lot of the government black operations are doing. They're looking at different signals and different brain waves signals that make a person extremely obedient, so that they can basically send a brain wave and that person will do anything that they're told to do. Much like what some of the shamans in South America do with datura or gypsum weed, is they know a certain combination of the leaves and the flowers, and they put that into someone's drink, and you are there. You belong to them now. Your mind, your emotions, your body, everything is geared towards total, complete obedience to that shaman or whoever it was that gave you the potion. And so be very, 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 very aware of what you drink if you go down to South America. Okay. Don't go drinking in bars. Not that the Kundalini people will, but some might make that mistake, and you want to be very careful about who's slipping anything into your martini or your cerveza. And so as you go through your life, and the Kundalini is setting up these karmic blockages throughout your life, all of them designed to purify your system, so that once it is purified, the Kundalini can come in incrementally or, bombastically in a big swoosh. So this is the purpose of abuse for Kundalini. This is the purpose for abuse. And it is absolutely a necessity. You don't get away with not having it occur in some way, shape, or form. It can be brutal, ladies and gentlemen. It can be absolutely brutal. But it'll be happening before you even know what Kundalini is, or before you even have heard the word. And it's going to be different for each person. We all come to the Kundalini table with different karma. Everybody does. It's extremely different. So John will not have the same karmic redemptive patterns as Jane. And Jane won't have the same karmic redemptive patterns as Joyce. And so it goes. So it's very important to understand and begin to place within a context of purification all of the difficulties you've had in your life. I don't care if it was marital stress. I don't care if it was childhood sexual abuse. All of the abuse and all of the difficulties that you have experienced in your life is really in the hands of the Kundalini. Blame God, goddess, if you must blame someone. But it's better to use the knowledge and to come into a level of balanced understanding, so that you can understand your abuse had purpose. I know that when I was horsewhipped by a stepfather, for 14 years, I know, having this knowledge come to me, I know that it was for a purpose. That it was for a purpose. That the physical abuse and the emotional abuse was there for a purpose. And sometimes the stronger the abuse, the stronger the Kundalini equation. You may have, say as a 5-year-old, your father may have left you, or and so you had to go without that male influence in your life. Or conversely, the mother may have left you, and then you've gone without that sacred feminine female in your life, and you're raised by your father. or both parents leave, and you're raised by foster people, and maybe they're not the nicest people, and so on and so forth. You know, permutations are fairly varied and vivid in their actuation upon the person. And so, you know, all of this equates to purification. Not so much of a detox. When I speak of detox, I'm thinking about more along the lines of what you've done to yourself physically and energetically. You know, detox is, you know, that's getting rid of something out, you know, getting rid of something. Whereas karmic redemption is about balancing the slate, balancing, you know, what you had done by experiencing an extraordinary amount of difficulty or pain in order to balance that debt, so to speak. And Michelle comes on, and she's asking a question: can the karma that you give to another, will it be returned? Yeah. If Michelle, if you go up to somebody there in Australia and you pull one of those shrimps off the Barbie and you hit somebody over the head with that shrimp from the Barbie, and you know, you hurt them in some way, that will be returned to you. Now, are you talking in this life or the next life? Sometimes the karma is going to travel in this life, and I'm sure you may have heard some of the stories where, you know, a person says to you, it's like, yeah, you know, I really have to watch my P's and Q's really carefully because my karma's returned to me instantly. I do something wrong and bam, I get hit pretty hard. And yeah, that can be the case with the Kundalini person too. You know, I learned the hard way to really, really, really be careful and honest in my interactions with others. And my reputation may not reflect that because, you know, people lie. The deal is that I have been very, very ethical and very, very moral in my interactions with people because I learned the hard way that if you're not that way, your karma will come and get you almost immediately. So within a Kundalini context, it's something that I would strongly consider you to look at. Don't feel that you can steal that person's wallet and just get away with it and go, oh, I'll pay that karmic debt next life. First of all, you're not in charge of when you pay the karmic debt. That's number one. Number two, that's just going to really mess you up in many very different ways. I mean, that person's wallet has all, you know, their cards, their identification, their money, and they may lose out on job opportunities or the inability to travel or some such type of a thing that it's a disaster far beyond just the loss of the money. And that everything that person goes through, you get to go through and more. So the soul will spend quite a bit of time, quite a bit of lifetime in the flesh body, balancing its karma to the point where it can have a lifetime where the Kundalini activates. And when that lifetime comes along, any residual karma that needs to be resolved is going to get resolved before the activation, or in actual fact, during the activation for some people. So you want to stop looking at yourself as a victim if you feel that you've really received some harsh karma or harsh activities, you know, forced upon you, friends or society in general. Like, God, my life has been so hard. It's just like, I hate everybody because they've hurt me in so many different ways. You know, I hear this a lot from Amelia. Oh, Lord. Kidding. She's not on yet to defend herself. But the Atlanta Seeker is saying, she says, Michelle asks, so it's a circle. Yeah, Michelle, it is a circle. when you commit an act of violence upon another person, that act of violence is going to be committed upon you, and the circle has been completed. Atlanta Seeker says, it's hard to accept what you're saying. It seems to me that there are dark forces on this planet that are responsible for a lot of the abuse. And these same forces like to create obstacles to Kundalini. Well, this is true. This is true, but you've got to understand, Atlanta Seeker, that divinity holds sway over dark evil forces. It is not a half and half gesture like the Tao would indicate. You know, the Tao with the two little fishies swimming in a balance, a concert of balanced equation. No, the yin yang is what I'm talking about. It's not that way. Divinity could stamp out evil anytime it wishes. Anytime. Divinity can just change the course of that person's life for the positive. But it knows that it must not. We live on a world that is designed for karmic redemption. And that includes the dark forces that are present here too. Those forces are allowed to be here. Not only are they allowed to be here, they're allowed choices to become dark forces in the first place. And
hi, everybody. I'm not hearing Chrism just now. And I checked with Rosemary, and she's not hearing Chrism either. Could somebody in the chat room let him know that? Just type in big print, we can't hear you. That is, if you can't hear him. Okay, I'm going to, I don't quite know what to do here now. 1 second. Hello, 848?
Yes, hi, how are you, everyone? This is Tyra again.
Okay,
we can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you. Just to let you know.
Oh, okay. I will go quiet and I will ring back in again. Rosemary, you ring back in too. Thanks, Tyra.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear Chrism? Can you hear Chrism?
Yes, we can. Yes, I can hear Chrism, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Tyra. Can you hear me, Chrism? Can't hear Chrism. Hi, Chrism. Joey can't hear you and neither can Rosemary. I'm afraid to go off. Do you want to go off and ring back in again? And in the meantime, if you can hear me now, I will give some announcements until I see you back on the switchboard, unless everybody else is hearing you there in the chat room. I'm going to watch the studio here and see if you're responding. Hi, Chrism. I'm assuming you can hear me. I can't hear you. I'm sorry. I'm going to go off again because this happened earlier, and when I came back, I could hear you. So I'm going to go off and try again, okay? When you see 111, that's me. Thanks, Chrism. Chrism, I'm assuming you can hear me. I cannot hear you. I spoke to Rosemary there, and I don't know what the story is. Okay, nobody here can hear you, Chrism, but obviously you've been heard in the chat room, yeah? They're telling you you're being heard, I assume. If you're not being heard in the chat room, why don't you click off and I will stay here till you come back. If not, just put me in the blue if you're being heard in the chat room. I can't hear a word. Are you being heard in the chat room, Chrism? Going away again. Can't hear you, Chrism. I'm going over to the Facebook group to see if I can hear you there. And actually, I can hear myself on the Facebook group. I don't know if you're there or not. Please say something.
Hello. Anybody out there hear me?
Hey, I hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm calling in on my phone, but I'm still not getting anything on the computer. Can you ask the chat room if they can hear?
Unfortunately,
Michelle,
I can't.
Why can't you?
I can't, Chrism, because I don't have the chat room up.
Oh, geez.
I can't get it here on my phone. Now, the thing is, I think you're live on air, Chrism.
Stop. I know I'm on the air.
To these people here now that are pressing ones are going to say they can hear you now.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead and ask them.
Okay.
Wow, I have to do this on my phone. I have to call in to my own radio show. You got to love it. All right. Well, I guess this is a form of karmic radio abuse. That's what I think it is. Anyway, I went out and I got another computer now, and so I'm on a different computer and calling in on my phone. I don't know what I can't believe that both computers have microphone problems. That doesn't make any sense to me. So once again I apologize to everybody, and this is not anything that we could plan. So we'll just roll with the punches here and continue. I believe Atlantis Seeker was saying how difficult it is to imagine that, gosh, we're on a world where so much of this is going on, and it really goes against what we're taught from our New Age people and from the Christian people and from the Buddhist people and the Holy Quran people and all of these different religious-based systems, that we could actually be involved in a world that is a karmically redemptive world, so that humanity can graduate from its animalistic passions and drives and hurtful tendencies towards a semi-divine expression of life upon this world, changing the frequency of this world as we change ourselves through the Kundalini, which brings us through the karmic redemptive process. So I get it. I can understand the difficulty that would engender. I totally can. And if I wasn't having this information just given to me by my Kundalini, I would have a hard time believing it too. But when there is a logic, and albeit from a wishful thinking standpoint, there is definitely a level of evolutionary logic that is being presented here. And evolution doesn't care about your feelings. Evolution doesn't care, about anything of a human emotional concern or care. All evolution is concerned with is the advancing of the species. And karma is spiritual evolution. And really, it is spirit that makes up this world. It's not, the science of, we have hydrogen and nitrogen, and they're like joining together and they're forming molecular bonds. And no, that's just, that's just some of the basic building blocks of what it is we're standing on. It's not why it's there. Why it's there is for karmic evolution. And people don't want to hear some of this stuff, but I think that the Kundalini people must hear this stuff. And I'm going to check in right now with Vicky and Michelle and Atlantis Seeker. Are you still hearing me? Has this gone off yet? I might check in a couple of times. So if you could type whether or not you're hearing me, call into my own show here. I'd appreciate it. And looks like Atlantis is typing and Michelle's typing, and still hearing you. I hear now. Okay. And Vicky's typing. Okay. All right. Very good. And before, so this is really the setup, ladies and gentlemen. This is really the setup for Kundalini evolution on this world. We have karma redemption that we have to go. And that karma redemption requires us to go through levels of difficulty. In other words, you kind of have to go through hell before you can get to heaven. That kind of a logic. But you earn your way through. You earn your way through that bastion of negativity into the bastion of light or positivity. And it is part of the process. This is one of the, if you look outside of science and you look outside of the understandings of great spiritual leaders that speak to the masses in a way that allows them to matriculate along a very slow level of evolutionary understanding from a spiritual standpoint. If you just go into your Kundalini and the Kundalini comes to you and shows you, how this planet is set up, you realize that this is one of the most rapid schools towards ascension that there is. Really, this is fast compared to other planets, other places, other dimensions. This is very fast. And this is why this system gets a lot of attention from extraterrestrial, gets a lot of attention from spiritual consciousness as well. This is a very, very rapid school advancement and evolution. And the fruit of that spiritual advancement and evolution, the fruit and the causation is the Kundalini. It is the Kundalini, and people just kind of need to wrap their head around that. It's not an easy school, ladies and gentlemen. It isn't easy getting to where you are right now. Not easy at all. You need to recognize that and give yourself a little bit of credit for having come this far into this level of grace. You've gone through all that karma. You've gone through all these different levels of existence, all these lives, and here you are. Here you are, and so take heart, my friends. Take heart. It is a difficult understanding, but it is how you have made it here. You have climbed every rung of the ladder through all the different lives, portraying both genders, making all the mistakes, paying for all those mistakes, and here you are. So I want to congratulate all of you who are listening to this broadcast. If you're still listening to this broadcast, because I know that the technical screw-up would have turned off a lot of people, and, I'm sure I lost some of the folks here. So I'm going to come up here and bring Amelia online. Hi, Amelia.
Hi, Chrism. Hi, Chrism.
How are you?
I'm good. It's good to hear you again. That was weird.
Sorry about that. And both laptops too. What do you think of that?
I don't know. Strange.
That's a blog. I think that's a BlogTalk thing. I really do.
Oh yeah, it is. It is. Of course, it is. Yeah.
My laptops have been working fine all morning. They're working fine, and there's no way that both laptops are going to have the same problem. So it's a BlogTalk thing. Well, how are you? What's going on with you and your spiritual Kundalini journey, my dear? Go ahead and tell everybody.
Oh, okay. Well, as most of you listening, or quite a few of you listening, will know about the entity, that quiet. I have heard nothing from that for some weeks now. So no, nothing has changed with regard to that since last week. Oh my goodness, Chrism, I'm in Kerry, and there's been a lot of things happening for me within my process. I'm going through a phase of, being deeply in love with the Kundalini. I mean, deeply in love with everything that's happening. And it is, I don't really have words for it. It's just, I am deeply in love with everything that is happening to me. There's a lot of phenomena, in inverted commas, because I don't even see it as phenomena anymore, if you know what I mean. It just is, as the Kundalini does. And, there's been some deep compulsions towards devotion, spontaneous devotion, and prayer, and gratitude, deep gratitude, and for everything that's happening to me, in that has happened and is happening. And there's, I've experienced in the last few weeks a lot of past stuff and present stuff. It's interesting that you're talking about karma, not past lives, a little bit of that too, but just in this life, past things. And it's been, I'm the mercy, the mercy and grace that, and love. I'm hearing a feedback. Am I speaking twice? Through it, if nobody else is hearing, just check on the chat room that I'm not being echoed, please. So it's just, at this particular time, it's just a place of deep gratitude and devotion and obedience, and following and being in the presence of my Kundalini in a way that's holy. I know that might sound weird to people, and some people may not understand that. And it's interesting what you spoke of earlier about, when we were children, how we come from different beginnings. Some of us have no religion in our background and others do. And for me, I would have come, when I was a child, I was born into a very religious family. So we had constant religious practice every day, as well as Sundays, and then important, things throughout the year as well. And as a child, I would have had a very strong devotion or a love, a connection with God, but that didn't last, And some of the experiences that I had as a child, they had a Kundalini nature to them, but back then I wasn't listened to, and there was a lot of things and pain around that. And, I was just thinking as well, as you were speaking then, about how all my nightmares about spiders when I was growing up, either millions of them chasing me out of my bedroom or big, huge ones. It was the joke in my family, about me and spiders. I didn't know anything about Kundalini back then, and that stayed with me all my life. So it's very interesting. We have no clue, do we, when we look back, of how the Kundalini is with us actually all the time. But we do have to go through, at least I did, had to go through a lot of things before that was revealed to me. Even when I began...
Yeah, I think that's fairly common, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, even in later years, when I was going through a strong activation and had no clue about that, and I, was going through all these symptoms and phenomena and all of that, I remember when I discovered, you, when I was guided to you and your website and your teachings, I remember being quite cross for a while with the Kundalini, saying sort of, why didn't I have this information before? If I had had this information when I was going through the Shakti cold and, the heart the heart palpitations and all of that, I could have come out of my fear with an understanding a lot sooner. But you see, I had other things to do, and there was karma involved in that too. But I also had, when the Kundalini led me to you, that was no accident. The timing was perfect. I had to do all the other stuff and go through all the other difficulties first. And that would be karma too, wouldn't it, Chrism? I mean, that would have a big karmic
the lack of knowledge. The lack of learning how to manipulate Kundalini in a way would be a karmic I guess a karmic manipulation upon you. In other words, you needed to suffer within ignorance for a time before she would reveal the truth to you.
Yes, that's the case. That was the case. And then afterwards, when you look back, you can see things that you didn't understand then. And that's why sometimes the past catches up, for me anyway, with the present, suddenly and I'm feeling things again in the present from the past, but it's different because I have the information now.
Right.
So, yeah. So anyway, that's, it's very, so I suppose I was beginning to say about, the holiness that I have been feeling, the presence of the Kundalini, her absolute mercy, her love, that's with me, that I'm, I can't put words on it, Chrism, but it's presence in devotion and prayer and thankfulness for where I am.
Very nice. Well, while we still have a technical connection, let's go into the questions. Okay,
so I'm doing that now, and I'm just switching windows. Okay, so the first question came in 3 parts, and I want to read the 3 of them, please, because they're short. So, what is the origin of a soul? And it's very interesting. What is the origin of a soul? And is this this aspect of us? Sorry. What is the origin of a soul? And is this the aspect of us that is eternal? Also, are there new souls being created now, or are we all old souls that are reincarnating over and over? And the third part, can a soul divide and take various physical bodies at the same time?
Oh, yawning, excuse me. We are shards of the divine being. We are shards. We are complete spiritual reflections of the divine creator being. And the second question was?
Are there new souls being created now, or are we all old souls?
Yes, new souls being created every moment. And can the soul split? The soul can split. This kind of like goes into the twin flame thing. Souls can split. They can split gender. They can. One aspect can. We start getting into areas like the Education of Oversoul 7 by Jane Roberts, which is basically saying that the soul can incarnate onto the planet at different time periods in many different places all at the same time. If there is a divine prerogative towards that, then yes, that can be arranged. But there needs to be a divine prerogative towards that. Most of the time, actually, the big emphasis is on evolution. So if that aids your evolution, then so be it. The laws of karma and the lords of karma, will facilitate that. But for the most part, people that have, it's not a big race. Okay, this isn't the Indie Karma 500. Okay, what's more important than rapidity is to be completely thorough in the evolutionary process. And this is what, Kundalini does with the karma, is it really dredges the depth of the core of your being and begins to bring up all the different layers of karma that you can handle in this lifetime and still remain sane. Because you don't necessarily only have one life with Kundalini. You can have more than a few lives where you're having Kundalini and you're having to deal with it. You're having to go through that layer of karmic retribution as a child, and then coming up into the teen years and having, spiritual propensities and things like that. Until you come into the Kundalini once again, and like you're on your second or third life with Kundalini. The vector really isn't towards speed; it's towards being thorough. And as you complete, say, a second or third life having the Kundalini, well, then you've thoroughly engaged it in such a way that it will no longer stay as a remnant possibility. It is a current, continuing possibility. Even from the very first time, it is a concurrent, reliable transformation of the soul. You see, the soul is also transformed as well as the physical body. Divinity, once you've stepped into the divine contact, the divine contact never leaves you. Its signature is always upon you now. Because you've earned it. You've lived all those lives. You've gone through all that karma. And you have earned the contact with the divine to become that expression of divinity within the mundane world, but also within the supernal worlds of spiritual matrix. So the soul could split off into these various expressions, but I think for thoroughness, and that would be determined by the personal divine instruction for that individual, within the expression of that soul in the body, there's a linear progression that is helpful. But if you go into the Huna, the ancient Polynesian religion that's called Huna, they also talk about the interchangeability of certain aspects of a soul. So, for instance, a soul is made up of 3.5 parts. You have the Unihipili, which would be the ego. You have the Uhane, which would be the higher mental functioning consciousness. And then you have the dual Amakua, which is both a sacred male and sacred female. So you have 3.5. Now, if the Unihipili messes up so badly, we'll just pretend that it's resisting the Kundalini so badly that it damages itself, it becomes a drug addict, it gets incarcerated in a mental facility and goes crazy, well, that ego self can be taken off of the soul, taken somewhere for remedial training and healing, and then a new ego can be placed inside of that equation. You hear what I'm saying, Amelia?
I do.
So they talk about the interchangeability of and you can take out the uhane, the higher mental functioning self, and replace it with a different higher functioning consciousness. It's like divinity can and evidently does change out these components the same way you change out a light bulb. So, and you know, Huna is very, very ancient. It is a very, very old religion. For most of its existence, it's been an oral tradition and an oral history. But I've been finding out that the Huna that I know that comes from Max Freedom Long isn't the same as the Huna that the Hawaiians are practicing. What I think happened is, you know, the Hawaiian people are very kind of upset. They just as soon leave the United States. You know, there's a big racial tension between mainland United States and Hawaiian and Hawaiian culture. And what I think they did is I think they created a different aspect of Huna and hid the original one so that they don't have cultural pollution by people interpreting the true Huna and gave them a kind of a fake Huna to learn from. And so that's what I think has occurred. And the Max Freedom Long Huna is the truth of it. I mean, this is how the kahunas, the high priests of Hawaii, can fix a broken bone in a flash of light using the Kundalini. But they do talk about the replaceability, if that's a word, of different components of the human psychology and spiritual makeup. So because they mention it, because other people are mentioning it, I am fairly certain that it's a possibility. I don't think it's done arbitrarily, though. I think there has to be a very specific reason for that to be done, and that it can be done. I don't place a lot of limitation on divinity. Over.
Thank you very much, Chrism. Okay, so the next question is from the group. And again, it comes in two parts. The first part was the original posting, and then there was an extension of that. The first question, part of the question is, when I try to see auras in people, it's like watching straight into their skull. Is this normal?
When they're doing what with the aura?
When they're trying to see them, when they're trying to see. It's like watching straight into their skull. Is this normal? So the person was asked then.
That's not a good way to see an aura. But go ahead.
Yeah. So was asked, why do you want to see auras? And the response was, I have recently found some interest in this. I have been a daydreamer guy with a great peripheral vision, and I came over some text where they described that you use the peripheral vision to see their auras. And while I was trying to see someone's, it's like their face disappears sometimes and only the shape of their skull remains, sometimes light, sometimes dark. It's very confusing. Is there any danger of reading auras?
Well, yeah, I mean, anytime you do any kind of spiritual and spiritual energetic involvement while you're still within the body of the innocent five-sense human. There is a danger of specific types of contact that can be challenging to you. So there is that. As far as looking at an aura, I didn't get a real clear answer on why the person is doing it at all, and and what's the whole reasoning for that. What level of purification have they had? What level of privacy are they abrogating for the person? Why do they want to see the aura? What do they want to learn? So there's that. You typically now, and going with peripheral vision, there are some things that can only be seen with the peripheral vision. There's a creature up here in Sonoma County that is a creature of I hate to say Lemuria, but it's very, very old. It would be of a Lemurian type of standard. And it's about 9 feet tall, and it has the legs of a crab, and it has the torso of like a human or humanoid-ish, and it can run sideways about 60 miles an hour. I forget the name of it. You don't want to know the name of this creature because you can inadvertently call it, and it will kill you. And so this is what the ancient Indians in this area knew of this creature, and they knew that you could only see it in your peripheral vision, and that it's been there for a very long time, and there's a few stories about it eating white people here when they set themselves up in a position to be consumed by it, either through mocking it or trying to be curious about it, or it's not. There are some things that you don't want to mess with, but this is something that you can only see in your peripheral vision. But evidently you can feel with every other sense in your body as it's ripping you apart. Evidently there's a guy in a mental ward right now who watched this creature eat his friend. And it's fairly unbelievable. But the ancient Indians, Native Americans in this area knew about it. And you don't want to learn the name. Don't go on the web and try to look this up. That is a wrong thing to do. So yeah, you can see some spiritual creation through the peripheral vision. And you could probably see some auric expression through the peripheral vision, although I tend to just split view it. But that's me, and that's the gift of grace that Kundalini gave to me that other Kundalini people can also use, but it may not be as natural to them as, say, just looking in the peripheral vision. When I look at people, for the longest time, when I would look at people and I'd go into their body and I'd look at the organs, or I'd look at the, look at a cyst, or I'm looking at their bones, the condition of the bones, look at these types of things, I have to look away in order to look there. So I would be looking at a person and just say I'm like eye-to-eye contact. Well, all of a sudden I'm looking over the right or left shoulder, completely away from the person, but I'm looking in the person at that moment. Or I'm looking behind the person. My awareness takes me behind the person and, say, into their neck or into their spine or into, the back area or the legs or whatever. So there is a level of truth with regards to viewing through the peripheral vision. Over. Boy, that was a long answer. That's a long draw out.
Good one. Thank you very much. Oh, good answer. And in regard, The next question is about colours. So, from the groups again, in regards to seeing colours when one closes their eyes, and I've seen them since I can remember off and on throughout time, what would it ultimately mean when I close my eyes and see colours of vibrating deep green running and spreading across the backs of my eyelids? I do have a physical injury right now as well, and wonder if seeing this colour while resting with my eyes closed may have anything to do with my severely broken ankle. This happened maybe an hour ago. Thank you.
Can you read it again?
I can. Regards to seeing colours when one closes their eyes, and I've seen them since I can remember off and on throughout time. What would it ultimately mean when I close my eyes and see the colour of vibrating deep green running and spreading across the back of my eyelids? I do have a physical injury right now as well, and wonder if seeing this colour while resting with my eyes closed may have anything to do with my severely broken ankle. This happened maybe an hour ago now. Thank you in advance.
So they saw the green about an hour ago? Is that what
It's
you're
a
saying?
he, yes. It's a he who has broken his ankle, yeah.
Okay, so he saw the green about an hour ago?
Yes, an hour before writing this on the...
Thank you. Often we see the color that we're resonating at, the frequency that we're resonating at behind our eyelids. So for me, for the long time, it was purple and green. I would see purple and green. And then you look at the heart. So I was resonating at the heart and the crown at the same time for most of my life. And other people have purple and gold, so they're going into even stronger levels of grace as well. And this person is operating from the heart right now, and that is the color behind the frequency. The frequency color behind it would indicate. How do you do this? You there?
Okay, I am there, yes. I wasn't sure if you were over, Chrism. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Now, the next one is, when it comes to forgiveness and recapitulation, is this something that has to be recited aloud, or can it be within your heart? When I forgive, do I need to tell the person physically, or do I need to know just within my heart?
It's best to write it out. And it's best to write it out from left to right and then from right to left so that we cover both sides of the brain. And then you go, and if you have access to the individual, you say, hey, look, I forgive you for whatever you did. And I apologize to you for whatever I did to cause you to do whatever you did. It's best to disturb the air molecules through the recitation of the forgiveness, to bring the energy into the physical domain, not just leaving it in the thought domain or the heart domain. You bring it into the physical domain by saying it out loud and writing it left to right and right to left. You bring it into the physical domain by going to the person and saying, I forgive you to their face, if it is appropriate, if it's not going to cause a whole new argument. And if it is going to cause a whole new argument, say they don't agree with that, it was their fault, then you just do the first two things. You write it out left to right and right to left, and then you speak it out loud alone in your room, and you do that like, say, 2 or 3 consecutive days, 72 hours. And you're not doing it all the time for 72 hours. Just doing it maybe 3 times a day, maybe once a day. And that is the best way. Over.
Thanks, Chrism. This is on the group, and there's the original post and then 2 short comments, all from the same person. The Kundalini is a muffled voice, but you feel it in your heart. Is this true? I heard and felt it just now. I see why I've been a little more emotional lately. You have to listen with your heart and your body? Question mark. Then I hear and feel the mind cannot comprehend what I'm doing. Is this true?
Well,
Could you comment something on that?
I don't feel it's true that Kundalini is a muffled voice. No. No, not at all. She rarely comes as a voice. And the way this person is hearing it isn't necessarily the way other people are going to, interact with the Kundalini. So for this individual, they may be listening to an entity and calling it Kundalini. And there was more to that question?
Do you listen with your heart and your body?
Yeah, you can listen with your heart and your body. That sounds so new agey and dramatic. Oh, I'm listening to you, Amelia, with my heart. No. I mean, you can listen with your heart, like emotional intuition, if you want. But you can just listen to the intuition. You've got to remember that Kundalini isn't so sappy sweet or attached so strongly to emotional expression. Emotional expression is a suite of tools that allows us to feel specific frequencies in a very tactile way upon the body, and to express those frequencies and to recognize those frequencies. So you can listen with your heart, so to speak, to the emotional frequencies that are being offered to you. But I feel it is best for people to listen with the straight intuition, maybe not buying into the emotionalism that humans can be manipulated with, but also that can be generated from other sources aside from the divine. Over.
Thanks, Chrism. Strange feelings of detachment from surroundings and people, talk, situations during the Kundalini process. Is this temporary feeling, and is it normal?
Normal.
Yeah.
May not be temporary, but you'll acclimate to it, and it's normal. Detachment is normal. Over.
Thanks, Chrism.
Yeah.
I'm just scrolling down because a few of the questions like that you've answered quite a few times, yet I know we have new listeners on and off, so I don't want to skip anything. There's a question about what is the difference between Kundalini syndrome and bipolar disorder. Like, you've answered that in numerous ways. Do you wish to say something about that?
Good. Bipolarism disorder, basically going to the extremes in emotion. I just spoke about that, actually, without calling it bipolar disorder. It's a condition of the emotional body where the extremes are reaching. You're happy, you're really, really, really happy, or you're really, really, really sad and angry. And you go back and forth with that. And within the Kundalini, it's just expanding the reference points for the emotional expression. So you have to go very, very high, and you have to go very, very low in order to expand the breadth, the width and the breadth of the poles of the opposites within the expression. So, if you're really, really sad, you just say that's going off to the left, or you're really, really happy and that's going off to the right. Well, the normal will say will just be 6 inches apart, but with the Kundalini, it'll be like 6 feet apart. So you've got all that new emotional space to fill in. And that's what is occurring with bipolarism. And when it gets out of hand, or a person doesn't understand what's going on, it could cause some pretty bad problems. It can kill a person. Over.
Did you say over?
Hello? I did.
Hello, yes. Oh, okay. Thanks, Chrism. Gosh, that's a difficult sentence to finish on. It can kill a person. Over. God. Okay.
Maybe you should be listening with your.
Maybe I should. I'm scrolling up and down, so I'm not really listening to you at this moment in time. Okay, so there's a question here, Chrism, and it was accompanied by a photograph, which you will remember looking at. But it would be so. And the question is, I got a haircut recently that revealed 2 marks on my scalp that appeared out of nowhere about a year ago. I was feeling some deep throbbing Kundalini pains in that area at the time, so I have the feeling that they are burn marks caused by extra nerve activity. Is that even possible?
No, I wouldn't say, and I believe I answered it this way, that no, I didn't see that as a burn mark through extra nervous activity. To me, it looked like a mark from E.T., and I didn't say that to him, but that's what it kind of looked like to me. The spots were too even in their diameter and too even in their distance from each other, and it looks like somebody tased them. You know, that there's the residual of a taser mark. Over.
Okay, Chrism, thank you. There's a question here about being a vegan that I'm reluctant to ask you, but it's on the group, so I would like to ask you it, please. Okay, so is everyone here vegan? Do you have to be vegan to truly walk this path? I recently became vegan, but learned that some people eat meat or are vegetarian. What is your take on this? So again, for people who haven't heard you speak on this before.
Yeah, you don't need to be vegan. Vegan is a dietary creation of human ego. And a human ego that's going into judgment about the killing of animals, and yet, being perfectly okay with killing other creatures like plants and fungi and these types of things. And so it's a very judgmentally selective approach to dietary intake that isn't very good for the body. So the best thing to be is an omnivore, really, because you have the widest possible resource for nourishment that the Kundalini would possibly want you to have. I mean, there are giant spiders in the Burmese jungle, like 12 inches across. A spider in a web that a human can be caught in, and the spider will inject the venom and liquefy your insides and then suck the fluids of that liquefaction and use it as nourishment. Well, you can catch these spiders and pull the legs off and eat them. Okay, and so there is a very, very, very specific level of omnivorism that the Kundalini may want you to have. She may want you to eat the spiders. And as it stands, even now in Western society, people eat, on the average, 8 to 10 spiders every year anyway. They crawl into the mouth while the person's sleeping, and even more so if you live in Ireland.
This is true, but they're not poisonous.
Right. And unless, you're in an ancient ruin and then you have that black widow in there.
Yes.
But Maeve, right? Maeve.
Yeah, Queen Maeve.
So omnivore is best because sometimes the Kundalini will choose you to be just carnivorous for a week or two or more. And that means that you can only eat meat. And she'll make you crave that meat. You'll see that prime rib, with salt crusting on the outside of it, and you just, oh my God, that looks so good. You'll see that turkey leg or that chicken, that roast chicken, whatever it is. You're going to see that meat and you're going to go for it because she wants you to go for it. She's compelling you to go for it. And then the very next month, all you can eat are veggies, and very specific veggies. Only root veggies, say potatoes, carrots, turnips, those types of things, radishes. Those types of veggies will be the ones that you can have. And then the next month after that, well, then you'll have veggies and fruits, and nuts. And so you got veggies, fruits, and nuts, and you're just eating those things. And then, the month after that, she'll turn around and have you eating meat again. This is just I'm just kind of giving you an example of the wide-ranging features of Kundalini-controlled dietary intake. And I believe you have some experience with that too, right, Amelia, for our new listeners?
Yes, I do, and it's as you described it, Chrism. And it's quite, people don't understand that how you can go from being vegetarian, vegan to eating steak. And it is because the Kundalini controls that aspect, and you have no choice. I mean, you can resist it for a little while maybe because it can be such a revulsion to the ego, who is in a position of, we say, if you're a vegan at that time, but the compulsion comes from the Kundalini. And, this happened to me. I'm always talking about the time I went from vegan to eating fish, but even recently, I hadn't eaten steak, in a long time. And I never thought I would again. And I used to kind of hope I wouldn't. And then just exactly as you describe, I just had to eat it. I just had to eat the steak. And when you obey that compulsion, which is actually, we say compulsion, and it is a compulsion because that's a communication from the Shakti that that's what she wants you to eat. And by eating it, you're obeying that command, really, or that instruction, because she wants me to have a particular thing, or any of us at that particular time. And it goes way beyond, the conversation or the to and fro of, the rights of plants and animals. That really, that's completely discarded when it comes to, it goes out the door, because you have to do as the Kundalini is instructing you to do. You really, and when you experience that, you really know what it is. You will not fail to recognize it. It's so strong. And just on another matter, which I suppose is really, it's still the same context, Chrism, but I was having a conversation recently and explaining that to somebody within the context of Kundalini, and they were having great difficulty understanding how or why the Kundalini would do that. But then we began to talk, about the consciousness. I was speaking to them about the consciousness that is present within plants, and how, vegans or people who eat vegetables only don't seem to understand that really. And the person was saying, well, when I take an apple from a tree or a nut or something like that, I'm not doing any harm to the tree that's standing there. And I have to point out that, in the context of horticulture, very often what we do to trees and plants is actually quite horrific. We deadhead them. We take off their fruit, which is like an egg. This person was appalled that I would eat an egg. And I was saying, what is an apple, or what is anything that contains the seed or the productive quality of that tree? And so what we do in horticulture is we also force trees, plants, to reproduce over and over and over by fooling them into, thinking that they haven't already done so. And a tree or a plant is very conscious of themselves and of each other. And so just because they don't squeak or make noise doesn't mean that what we do in the horticulture isn't just as cruel or manipulative of a plant and its cycle of life. And this is really something that, I don't know, people who eat vegetables are just, well, it's probably judgmental as we know, but it is my experience that they're not prepared to look at the consciousness they see similar in animals just because they don't experience it.
Agreed. Does Rosemary have a question? There's a question mark.
Rosemary was coming on earlier, I know, yes, to speak about the fact that she couldn't hear you. But maybe will we do about the seminars? She
go ahead.
Give information. Yeah. Okay.
Can you do the
Are you bringing her on?
Can you do the minutia? Thank you.
I can. I'll do that first then. So, the second seminar with Chrism is happening in Berlin. There was one there last year, and the
first seminar.
Well, this is the second seminar, yeah.
The second time I've been to Berlin. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, all right. Okay.
This is a Chrism's second seminar in Berlin. Last year was the first, and this one is on September the 16th and 17th. And just, I suppose, to let you know, it's a 2-day seminar. It starts in the morning around 9 a.m. and finishes at 5 o'clock. And that's sort of the official time. But in truth, really, it's much more than this. If a person wants to participate, and nearly everybody does, the evening meal happens, and we would have shared Kundalini conversations, and if a person comes, they have the opportunity to have one-to-one conversations with Chrism. And so, if you're listening to this show, and if you appreciate the teachings that are given here, if what Chrism says resonates with you, and the same if you're on the group, if you're listening to this on the Kundalini Awakening System group there on Facebook, and if Chrism's teachings resonate with you, if you're using any of them for your process, if you would like to know more, when Chrism answers questions on the group, you may feel a resonance and you may know that there's truth in them. So if you would like to find out more and spend time in person with Chrism and with other Kundalini people, there is a wonderful opportunity to do this in Berlin. And as in a minute you'll hear is also in Minnesota. And I just want to say to people how rare this is. It's not something that you're going to be offered very often. It happens maybe once a year in Europe, and once, maybe twice a year in America. So really, if you're listening to this, please consider coming. Look at your own process and speak with your own Kundalini and see if you're being, drawn to come to Berlin. And if you are, if you feel any interest in coming, I would say to you, contact Manisha, to her about what's happening and how you can get here. And I'm going to give you her email address. It's manisha@posteo.de, and that's spelled MANEESHA @POSTEO.de. And also you can see the information for the 2 seminars in Berlin, and as Rosemary will speak of next on Facebook, go to Kundalini Seminars and Events with Chrism, and you will get further information there. So that's it, Chrism, about the seminars.
Thank you, my dear. And I'm going to bring Rosemary on here. Hi, Rosemary.
Hi there, Chrism. It's nice to be with you. And when that was the little difficulty there, it was great to have your voice back again in the space. Thank you. Thank you for that effort.
Thank you for your patience. Everybody's patient.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure what to do, and then I was just given the intuition to call in, and it worked. So
the guidance, yes, thank you. Well, this second seminar is in Minnesota, in Mankato. It's about an hour's drive south of the Twin Cities, and it will be at the American Hotel and Conference Center. And I have numbers for those if someone would like those. My phone number is 651-329-9615, and my email address is rosemaryg@usinternet.com, and it's 651-329-9615. And what Amelia was saying about the joy of that and the opportunity is, yes, every bit of it, more than you can even describe. And there's the opportunity for Shaktipat also, that when we're in the seminar and the teacher's energy is, and he connects with us in that way, it's very powerful and a great opportunity. So give me a call. I have been getting some calls from folks. Thank you. It's encouraging always. And also local people, we will be having articles in the local magazines, and so look out for those too. We've had some of those before. It's about the seminar. So thank you, Chrism.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you very much. And putting you here in the Shiva blue, sacred male blue. And do you have more questions? It looks like we have a new caller there too. Would you like to?
Okay, well
to
then
talk?
I'll go check that. But you wrote something, Chrism, and I maybe you could speak on that while I'm checking. You wrote, "You must give yourself beyond reason in the most difficult way in order to receive that which is beyond contamination in the most purified way." Could you speak a little further on that?
Yeah. You must really choose to give yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Heart, mind, body, soul, spirit. You must make the choice, make the determination, have the trust in your grace, give yourself to it completely. And going outside of societal comfort zones. And so a lot of people, their Kundalini tells them to give themselves to their teacher. And so you must give yourself to the teacher. And one of the reasons why the Kundalini will ask you to give yourself to the teacher is because it goes so against what the society considers appropriate, unless you're living in certain parts of the world where that is an accepted, viable vehicle of spiritual learning. And so when the Kundalini says, give yourself to your teacher, then you give yourself to the teacher, heart, body, mind, soul, spirit, in every way. And you become very, very, very obedient and very, very truthful and very, very devotional to that teacher. And that carries you so much further than if you were not doing it. I mean, that is an incredible level of processing and progressing you can begin for yourself from that own choice to really, really give yourself in such a strong way and for such beneficial purpose, to take the contamination out of your spirit, to give yourself into greater levels of purification. The more pure you are, the more Kundalini you can take in without experiencing damages or a lot of blockages. And so really, really give yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Just give everything that you are. Give control over everything that you are. Give yourself to such a degree that there is no you left because you've given it all away. And this is a place of non-attachment that is very, very powerful for the individual soul. Once again, if you're with a teacher that has the Kundalini and you're paying attention to that person and they are guiding you through this process, and you really want to give yourself to that person. You want to do it heart, body, mind, soul, spirit in a very complete and condensed and appropriate way, appropriate to Kundalini, not appropriate to society. Because once again, Kundalini will step over all the taboos of fear set up by society. Doesn't care about these taboos. Taboos are of the ego. And so you get a very, very strong programming, and you get a very strong application of divine education through the gift of yourself to the Kundalini or to the teacher or to both. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. Thank you. There's nobody there for coming on. Yeah.
Oh, really? Let me see here.
Yeah.
Hello, caller, 682-331. You have a question?
Hello. My name is Prasad here.
Hi, Prasad.
Hi, Chrism. It's such a blessing that I am talking to you after such a long time. I've been your student for like 11 years, and I'm just so excited that I'm able to talk to you now. Incidentally, I was part of I was following your Yahoo groups initially, and off lately I haven't been able to follow your group much, but I do remember some of the teachings that you have given, and I always cherish that, and that's sort of a foundation for me all through these years, and I hope that I can progress well and get more of your blessings and your guidance.
Oh, absolutely, Prasad. And am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes.
Yeah. Tune into this radio program, and if you're on Facebook, join Kundalini Awakening ! And friend me on Facebook too if you want. I'll recognize you, and I want to thank you for listening all these years. It's an honor and a blessing to be able to assist people on this path, and so keep on talking and listen to this radio show. It sounds like you're not able to access the Yahoo group anymore, or can you?
I should be, just that unfortunately I just might have got a little busy in life, and I was not able to get to be as active as I used to initially, but probably going forward I'm very much keen on to get back onto the group to follow all your teachings and learn more, just as I started initially.
Well, once again, I want to thank you for your long and beautiful intake of the information that the Kundalini gives through me, and it's a great validation, Prasad. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Chrism. I'm just so excited and happy that I'm even speaking to you at this moment. Thanks for all your blessings.
Thank you. I'm going to give you into the listening mode now. Thank you, Prasad. Thank you very much. And hearkening back quite a few years. So pleasure to have you on the program, and feel free to come back. And if you have any questions, you can ask them on the air as well, because what helps you may help many others at the same time. Atlanta Seeker is asking, of the people who receive Shaktipat from you in person, what percentage do you think experience acceleration of their K process? All of them. 100%. Across the board. Every single one. Just by coming in to the room, if you're talking about, like, say, at a seminar especially, just by coming into the room, the process is instantly accelerated. And when I'm doing Shaktipat for solstice and equinox, that is also a very, very, very productive scenario for people to increase their process and accelerate their process of the Kundalini process. So thank you for asking that question on Land Seeker. 100%. 100%. Okay, well, it looks like it is about that time, ladies and gentlemen, and I want to thank you for persevering through this program. This is a very challenging program. And I want to thank everybody listening on Facebook, because I know that Amelia set up that little triangular button. They can just tune in by pressing on that, right, Amelia?
Yes, Chrism, that's correct. It's great.
Yeah, so I want to thank everybody who's listening on Facebook. I'd like to let you know that if you go to chrism.kundalini on the YouTube network, you can get about 325 or 330 videos. And as Prasad mentioned, we're also on the Yahoo network, Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 at Yahoo Groups, and we've been there for a very long time, over 10 years. And of course on Facebook, Kundalini Awakening ! Kundalini Awakening Systems 2, Kundalini Awakening Systems 3, Kundalini People, and Kundalini Healing, Kundalini Radiance Community. All of these communities are there for you to participate in and to learn from, and you're welcome to all of them. And I just want to turn the mic over to you. Any last words, Amelia?
Just to say thank you to everybody for tuning in, and thank you very much, Chrism, for persevering indeed and being inspired by the Kundalini to do what you did. It was good to hear your voice again. And so next week I'll be able to see the chat room, because I will be back in my usual place in Cork with my PC. So I'm looking forward to that too. So thank you very much, Chrism. See you next week.
And thank you, Amelia, for all the good, hard, beautiful work that you do. And thank you, everybody, for listening. We will see you next Wednesday, and have a beautiful Kundalini week in between. I'll end it the way I started it.